And let me make sure, yeah. So Thomas Edison once said, I have not failed. I've just found 10,000 ways that don't work. Winston Churchill once said, success is stumbling from failure to failure with no loss of enthusiasm. In this spirit, the idea of falling forward, I almost titled it or changed the title to Failing Forward. But I'd like to share a story about, um, well, a learning experience for me. And that is, sticking with something and finding a goal, even if it's a stretch or audacious goal, and sticking with it has a lot of rewards attached to that. So sometimes in life, we find, well, if we don't have a big audacious goal, there's another saying, it's like, if you don't know where you're going, that's exactly where you'll get. So for me, having an audacious goal is something I look for in life, particularly at this phase of my life, being a little older than some of you. But in my personal story, I knew that I was enamored with the ocean. I loved being in the water. I also, lifelong, have enjoyed photography. So I kind of tiptoed and marched periodically further and further into these ocean experiences and developed new skills. So I had a purpose while I was in the water. And the last thing, sharing some of these experiences visually was important to me. So along the way, I learned to tag and track sharks in the water. Some of you know me and know this to be the case, but I've been out on 10 research expeditions in the Eastern Pacific, typically 300 miles out at sea. I volunteered. I had some training as an undergrad, but I volunteered to tag a tiger shark. And along the way, well, you get a spear gun, you swim to within 2 feet of this case, an 8 to 10 foot tiger shark, and then you pull the trigger and apply acoustic tracking tag. Well, I volunteered for this job, no shortage of enthusiasm there. But once the shark turned to face me, I thought, what the hell was I thinking? This thing, who's the predator and who's the prey? I had a big close-up look at its very large mouth and teeth and suddenly realized I really don't know what I'm doing. Well, I paused long enough, that shark left the scene. On my third try, I was successful in tagging a tiger shark. But I would say that there are times when you pick an audacious goal where you stumble, you question yourself, you wonder if it's worth the trouble. Did I bite off too much? But sticking with it, that persistence, keeping that enthusiasm and marching forward one step at a time. You might not know 100% what actual goal you're even going for, but inching your way closer to something you know delivers enjoyment, something that gives you purpose. These are causes and endeavors that I think are rewarded in life. So for me, getting trained to be a scuba diver, then as a research diver, then learning the skills to photograph and now film, the reason I happen to be in Nashville, Tennessee today is I made a short film. My big hairy goal is to make a feature documentary about the shark research we do 300 miles out at sea. But along the way, I've now taken 9 classes at City College on film production. And I made a little swim film. It's 9 minutes long. It's about swimming outside the Golden Gate between Ocean Beach and China Beach. And I thought, well, I'm going to continue learning and I'm going to submit this to some film festivals. And to my surprise, my film was selected so far at 4 out of 8 of the film festivals that have made decisions. And I recently screened it about 10 days ago at the Green Film Festival in San Francisco. They gave it the jury award as the best short film, which I was completely shocked by. Never expected any of this. But these are some of the rewards along the way that allow you to keep positive and keep your enthusiasm up. I've met a ton of filmmakers. I've learned a ton of new skills. And there's times when, frankly, it wasn't so easy. I found it very frustrating. Learning Premiere Pro and editing software, learning Pro Tools, audio editing software. These things are not always fun and they're not always easy for someone with my background, let's put it that way for me. But I've been sort of seeing this to the end with this little practice film. I've been, well, the Chronicle wrote an article on my film and on me, which I was really shocked about. The Richmond Review, a little newspaper in the neighborhoods were out in the western half of San Francisco, wrote an article. I was invited on a radio show. I mean, none of this is for the sake of pure bragging. There's a little there, but mostly it's to say, if you pursue something and you stick with it and you have a goal in mind, not only can you achieve that goal, maybe you do, maybe you don't, but along the way, you'll be rewarded. For example, I've met incredible number of people I would have never met. Very diverse crowd. You know, I'm now in classes with 20-year-olds, younger than my own children, you know, and a just wide variety of people, different perspectives. It's not always easy. We do class projects together. Sometimes we're arguing about the most minute things, camera angles, the color of the lights, what the assignment was. But sticking with it through thick and thin is something that in the end you're rewarded. Gaining skills gives people a sense of meaning and purpose. Achieving goals, that's always meaningful for people. Getting feedback along the way, even if it's, you know, a lot of times I'll produce something, I know it's not very good. I have an instructor, I know I delivered something that wasn't great, but he's kind about it and he's helpful. And I've gotten a lot of great help from people who are now mentors. So my own example is that, you know, if you stick with it, if you overcome those frustrating moments, those embarrassing moments, those what the hell was I thinking moments, you will be rewarded. And again, new doors open along the way. I would have never guessed that this Green Film Festival would give me all this press. The thing about that press is if I ever go to raise money for my feature-length documentary about the shark research, I will probably have an easier time with it. So again, J.K. Rowling once observed, living life so cautiously that you don't fail means that you've failed by default. So in the end, I would say, go for those outrageous goals, stick with it, and you never know what you'll find along the way. Thank you, Diane.